So the curse we wanted to go over here, and talking of quarterbacks, is if we look back here during the 07-08, right? We were kicking ass and taking names. Well, Cam Newton played for the Gators. I don't know how many people know this stuff. Hope most people do know. He stole a laptop, was being prosecuted by the University of Florida, was going to get some big word, and transferred to a community college, a junior college, where he won the state championship that year. Then he obviously went on to Auburn and won a championship that year and the Heisman. Think about it like this. We called it the Cam curse, okay? The reason being is because since he's left, we've kind of been in a floundering state. And think about kind of what we talked about earlier, being in a rhythm in that 07 class, and Cam comes in, right? More than likely, we win another natty. I don't see us not winning one. Now, again, we didn't play, so you never know. But look what he went to Auburn and did. He stays. Again, that train keeps her rolling. That formula keeps her going. Urban might still be here, okay? Quarters of Urban may never have happened, maybe never existed. He may have never kicked Josh Lambo, and the Jags might still be a double-digit winning team, right? But I'm not saying that it isn't, but it's like the Billy Goat curse with the Cubs. Like, you got to point it back to something, and that, to me, is big. And we also had it happen again with the Will Greer situation on his Flintstone vitamins when he went to West Virginia, who, to me, Will Greer was the guy. That guy was, again, going to be the next savior to me for, like, we're putting Florida back on the map, right? And I really feel that since the Cam situation has happened, we just really haven't had the greatest look. Now, obviously, Kyle Trask came in and did a great job, but I don't know. I wanted to throw it out there and sprinkle it into you.
Yeah, look, that makes sense. I mean, Cam had so much athletic ability, and I don't think anybody can possibly look at what he did at Auburn or what he's even done in the NFL for that matter and say that wouldn't have been the most epic transition from Tebow to Cam, especially in an Urban Meyer offense with the athletic quarterbacks that he's had. And I think, honestly, Cam Newton, I don't think anybody can argue this either, was a much better passer than Tebow. So he would have been able to do everything that Urban Meyer needed. And instead, they ended up kind of going down a path of like Morningweg and, just a bunch of guys. I mean, there was Driscoll, who I think was okay, and just some other guys that just were not going to be on the caliber of what Urban needed. And it ended up kind of pushing him out of there to the point where he left and went, he pulled a chest grabber. But man, I could only imagine with what Florida was building after the Chris Leak transition to Tebow to a transition to Cam would have looked like. I mean, that would have changed probably the face of college football, at least for a decade. If you put all three of those quarterbacks together. It's not a thing that I would have wanted to see. And
would you think Kyle Trask broke the curse? I don't know. I mean, again,
yeah,
he was great.
Yes and no. But he was great on a short-term basis, right?
Yeah.
Like Trask wasn't a 4-year guy. It would have been a Cam Newton 3-year guy, at least a 2-year guy before he left to go to the
where
NFL,
he would have created, where it would have created a little more base. To me, Trask was. We talked about it in a Twitter space the other night where, like, look, you're going to have those good seasons every now and then. If you have poor recruiting, you're bound to have a good season because you're going to recruit well enough, and these guys aren't that great, so they stay a long time, and then you've got a team full of juniors and seniors. And that was kind of, to me, that situation with Trask. It was just everything kind of worked out, and it panned out to be good. Like, Kyle Trask is short from being great. I think he's a great quarterback. But to break the curse, I don't think it was there long enough, and we didn't really it needs to start a trend, right? Like a Tebow kind of set the tone, right? Came in, dominated, made Florida football exciting again. It didn't we fell right back off the next year. So it didn't translate, is what I'm getting at.
I think with Chris Leak, I think would have been a better example, just because of the Chris Leak lineage that he had. He was there for 3 years and he played good football. He played really good football for you guys. And then that's when they had Chris Leak. And then that's when you guys won your first national championship, when you had that hybrid Chris Leak, Tim Tebow offense. And then obviously the reins were handed to Tebow, and you saw what he did. But you got 2.5 to 3. You got 3 years out of Tebow. He stayed, and that matters, because as that guy, the guy who keeps coming back year after year after year, it gives you time to find the next heir apparent. Where even if Cam came in and only stayed for 2 years, it still gives you time. But then when you have that, you lose Cam, there's just a vacuum at that position where you weren't prepared to have that type of talent lost. And that's what really kind of shakes up the core of a football team. Now, look, like you said, I think, earlier, Will Grier could have been that guy. But again, he took some vitamins that he shouldn't have taken, and didn't even really get a chance to put his thumbprint into the program. So again, you're creating a vacuum of, we have our guy, we have our potential heir apparent, and now it's gone. That's a very, very difficult thing to overcome.
Oh, before you go, make sure you guys check out this video right here. It's brand spanking new. It's shiny. It's beautiful. It's gonna be a great one. I promise you. Make sure you like that video too, and also too, don't forget to subscribe somewhere in this vicinity right here.